Cén míle fáiltear gach duine cáirde agus agus gach duine bhfuil aithleagar agus gan bhfuil aithleagar cén míle fáiltear óh an taspáintas an seola an leabhar úntaach tábhachtach simúl Holy Wells of County Cork. You're very welcome here. We're delighted in working out the studios, Marie and I, to welcome our old friend Amanda. We've known her for a long time through Irish classes and so on, and Peter. And we've been following her. We know that she's not wholly well. Someone had to say that, so I thought I'd get it in there. When she started this project of the Wells 7 years ago or so, 7 years, 7 months and 7 days probably, she probably just thought she was going to record a well or two here and there. It's snowballed incredibly, and now she has probably all the Holy Wells of County Cork, many of County Kerry, and even some of Limerick, so she's only got 29 and a half counties to go whatever the maths is. So she has her work cut out for her. It's perfectly timed as well, because we have this lovely exhibition of work. Well, it's reminiscences and memories of local people based on artefacts from the Museum of Irish Country Life up in Castlebar, and the two artists, Sharon Welly and Tess Leake, brought the work around, and people talked about everything, you know, the old things, the old tools they used, the work, the day they had, the cures. There's a lot of them on the walls as well, and Holy Wells were part of that too. So it's perfect. And our own experience with Holy Wells, we've kind of follow them around the country as well, but not really noting them and recording them in the way that Amanda has. But we were talking about them recently because of this book launch coming up, and our son was telling us he was reminding us, we'd forgotten, but he had a...
Please try again.
I'll try again. I'll start from here. And I'll keep doing it till I get it right. He had a verruca, and it was giving him terrible trouble. He had it for months and months, and he was going to doctors, he was going all over the place, trying acid and everything. And he was co-leading a tour, walking tour, which we give, and he was up in Connemara. There's a beautiful pass, the Pass of the Birds, the Morning Pass, that brings you over the mountaintop. And there's a holy well up there that's associated with Patrick, but it's known for its cure for warts. And he didn't know about this, but he was co-guiding with his brother with the crowd of Americans. And his brother was giving the talk and saying yes, this, that, and the other. And there's a well just out of sight, way up the hill there, up the cliff. And it supposedly has a cure for warts. So Merrick pricked up his ears, and he headed up the hill then, and he got a bottle of the water and he drank it, and he poured it on his foot, on the afflicted foot, and he filled the bottle. And during the week then, for the rest of the tour, he poured a little bit on it every day. And he'd had it for 6 months or so, and within the 4 days of the tour, it dried up into a black little hard piece of carbon and fell off. So they're still working. So anyway, that's enough. I'm going to introduce Gary Brannigan, who's come down from Dublin, and he's written the book on Holy Wells in Dublin. And so we're delighted to welcome Gary.
Hi everybody. I'm just going to say a few words if I can. Firstly, I'd like to thank Amanda for the honour of speaking at tonight's launch, which is in no small way the culmination of many years of exhaustive research and dedicated pursuit to a subject that I know is close to my heart, her heart, and a lot of people's hearts. I know from personal experience that this work is a true vocation, or some might say a true obsession. The many cuts, bites, scrapes and bruises that Amanda will have no doubt received to her body and to her ego while traipsing across the wild and not so wild areas of County Cork should be worn as badges of honour. I'd like to truly congratulate Amanda from the start for having succeeded in completing such a worthwhile and mind-blowing achievement that is the Holy Wells of Cork. The Holy Well may be seen as a focal point in a wider sacred and therapeutic landscape, which are places that have achieved lasting reputations for providing physical, mental and spiritual healing. On that basis, the Holy Well is an almost perfect example, being built on its reputation and stories of various cures and the rituals to be carried out at the site, along with established associations with cures for physical ailments, mental stresses, and a strong association between holiness and wellness. Many people think of holy wells as a rural phenomenon, but the city and county of Cork had and has, as Amanda's book very fully documents, well over 350 wells in the county as a whole and 13 in the city and its environs. While holy well worship has mostly died out in the modern secular and rational world, there has been a real revival of interest as part of a wider rediscovery of all things ancient, indigenous, aqueous, and in this case, all of the above. For me, the holy well is a healing site of physical, mental and spiritual forms associated with water and bears within its layers of meaning: pagan, Christian, curative, spiritual, superstitious, social and emotional. These meanings and identities tell us something about the history of a place, but also act as markers of local pride and knowledge. Eston Evans refers to holy well practices as examples of what he calls the elder faiths, pre-Christian customs and beliefs that linger into the present day. Holy wells are also places where sick and healthy bodies merge and mingle, and where the holy and healing water connects with all aspects of what it means to be human, imaginative, emotional and spiritual. But wells were also sites of communion in its broadest sense, of local and non-local groups, meeting and interacting, in turn expressing the profoundly social nature of well sites, especially during patterns and festivals. At times like this, other more worldly, fleshly bodies met and mingled to indicate that wells had additional meanings as liminal and even unhealthy places where violent passions, romantic, physical, elemental, all emerged. Amanda details some very evocative and descriptive names for some of the holy wells in the county, which would not be out of place in such programmes as Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. Such examples as Well of the Poet, Well of the Place Abounding in Ants, Well of the Breast, Well of the Quaking Bog, Well of the Bard, and Well of the Sunny Milking Field. It is surprising that given Cork City is such a large, sprawling city, Amanda also documents the holy wells that have surprisingly survived in name or in reality in several locations. Up a flight of steps just off the North City Link Road, a once famous centre of pilgrimage that gave its name to the nearby Ladywell Brewery exists. It unfortunately has had quite a checkered history in recent years, with dereliction following renovation following dereliction. Hopefully some civic-minded councillors might take on this project as an ongoing project and finally get the balance right. On the North Mall, a stone-lined enclosure hidden behind a steel barrier in the beer garden of the aptly named Franciscan Well Brewery is the next one. It was described in 1896 by John Fitzgerald as a splendid well with a never-failing supply of pure crystal water, highly medicinal, resembling in taste to the Mallow Spring, and with many people still using it as a cure for sore eyes, consumption and other ailments. Sunday's Well, further along the road from North Mall, which gave its name to the Sunday Well area, was a major centre of piety, which is attested to the many historical references and photographs. It succumbed to road widening works in 1946, and now only a plaque on the wall and a modern brick outline on the ground would indicate its former location. It was a delight to discover the fuller story in Amanda's book, and to hear that a possible discovery of the surviving spring has made its way into nearby gardens, and that the source lives on. The holy wells of Cork are perhaps better preserved in the county, and this is evident in Amanda's book. Among the many sites she lists, she also includes the famous Gugan pilgrimage site, which is dedicated to Saint Finbar, with its 2 holy wells. This site has remained an important place for hundreds of years, and its special place in the heart of many Corkonians is testament to the fact that 100 plus weddings are held there every year. About 200 years ago, Thomas Crofton Croker noted the following on its pattern day. The door or opening to the front of the well was so narrow as scarcely to admit 2 persons at the same time. Within the well was crowded to excess, probably 7 or 8 persons, some with their arms and some with their legs thrust down into the water, exhibiting the most disgusting sores and shocking infirmities. When those within came out, their places were instantly filled by others. Some there who had to wait 2 or 3 hours before they could obtain access to this healing font. The blind, the crippled, and the infirm jostled with each other in their efforts to approach, whilst women and boys forced their way about, offering the polluted water of the well for sale in little glass bottles, the bottom of broken jugs and scallop shells. He also goes on to say about the merriment afterwards. As night closed in, the tent became crowded, almost to suffocation. A man served in the Kerry militia some years previous, entertained the assembly by singing Irish songs. Being ignorant of the Irish language, I inquired as to the meaning of the words being sung, and found that these songs were rebellious in the highest degree. Poor old King George was execrated without mercy. Curses were also dealt out wholesale on the Saxon oppressors of Banna the Blessed, which is an allegorical name for Ireland. Bonaparte's achievements were extolled, and Irishmen were called upon to follow in the example of the French people. Of course, the usual imbibement of poaching and whiskey, porter, and all manner of intoxicants were the order of the day, which would also lead to fighting and debauchery, with many believing that once the performance of their rounds on this day were completed, sin could not be committed for the rest of the day. An Irish solution to an Irish problem. The church taught different, and by 1817, the Bishop of Cork issued a decree of excommunication to anybody who chose to take part in the patterns from then on. But even they had to revoke this decree, perhaps due to the finances they earned on the day. Next up is Ballyavurna, which is truly an extraordinary place of pilgrimage, dedicated to the patron saint of beekeepers. The area boasts 3 wells, the shrine and burial place of St. Gubnett, the Taurus itself, and the wonderful practice of wrapping ribbon around a 13th century oak effigy of the saint, to name but a few. Really is a place to be seen in person. Should a cure be required, a novena must be performed, which Amanda confirms is still carried out to this day where necessary, and which is done in the following manner. The vigil is performed for 9 consecutive days or nights, or a mix of both, whichever suits people. It's a set number of different prayers, mostly in the number of 7. For example, 7 Our Fathers, 7 Hail Marys, 7 Glorias. It takes about an hour and a quarter to do the vigil each day. On the last night, following the vigil, the well is emptied and this water is discarded. The new water flowing into the well chamber is deemed particularly potent, and it is this that is used to bless the sick person, who will then obtain the cure. Amanda notes in the area of Ballinspittle is famous for 2 things: for a cafe by the name of Diva Boutique Bakery, and also for the moving statues phenomenon at the nearby Marian Shrine in 1985. Of course, there is a third thing, and that is the Holy Well of Tubereen on Downing, nearby. A small pentagonal well, flush with the ground, is located in a luxuriant glade. Said to contain the cure for sore eyes, it suffered the fate of being filled in by the local lord of the manor many years ago, and it moved location in response to this offence. Quite an unusual offering was found by Amanda on her last visit, that being of a geocache.
Yes.
Of course, the real reason holy wells were so popular was their powers of healing. Different holy wells were often referred to as spas, another classic therapeutic landscape form, and the terms were quite interchangeably in the 17th and early 18th century. St. Patrick's Well in Mallow, also known as a spa well, had a spa house built over it to take advantage of the mineral qualities of its water. A whole range of different cures at wells like Tubercaich or Blind Well near Mallow, Well of Ague or Fever in Ballinhassig, Well of the Pains in Kilnamitra, and the 7 eye wells and 6 wart wells in various parts of West Cork. All, as their name suggests, are associated with specific body parts. The effectiveness of the cure was often time specific, and as with the Surfeit well in Rathroot, the cure was at its height on Christmas Day and Easter Sunday, and faded away slowly after that. It was still curative. At other times, you just got the best dose on those times. The consumption or tuberculosis was treatable at 2 urban wells, and as an infectious disease associated with overcrowding, it was not a surprising cure to find in the city. It's interesting to note that traditional cures attributed to some holy wells in Cork, but also around the country, have been shown to be backed up by the relevant mineral content found to exist within the water. I'll give 2 examples outside Cork, if I may. For example, Tubernagalt, or Well of the Insane in the neighbouring County Kerry. When the water was tested, it was found to contain very high levels of lithium, much higher than all other local water sources which were tested. Lithium, of course, is used in varying levels to this day in the treatment of some forms of mental illnesses. Another well closer to my own neck of the woods, St. Bridget's Well in the village of St. Margaret's near Dublin Airport, was traditionally resorted to for the cures of sore eyes, stomach complaints and skin disorders. This well was tested in 2009 in teams collaborating between Trinity College and Maynooth College. They discovered that the well contained high levels of potassium, magnesium, sulfur and chloride. These are known to have value in the treatment of kidney problems, skin conditions, infections and constipation, and which mirror the traditional cures associated with this well. It would be very interesting if such a project could be extended to all counties. If nothing else, I think it would show the extent of the knowledge held by our forebears who did not have the benefit of modern chemical testing. Finally, I would urge you all to read, and preferably buy, Amanda's book. It's a real labour of love, a documentation of many centuries of knowledge about the holy wells of County Cork. I suspect she's had to do a huge amount of editing, which I know is painful. But given it records past and present wells, it both preserves history, yet simultaneously marks out sites for future preservation. Water and healing in cities across Ireland are now more likely to be homeopathic. And I know of a woman in Clontarf who makes up a mix from water from 10 holy wells in and around Dublin City. But the old stories of saints, cures and patterns live on, and across the city and county of Cork, holy wells are maintained and old customs revived to mark the deeper histories of a place. Alongside pattern days, there were and are always daily rituals enacted at the wells. Rituals of place, but also small rituals of the people of a place. Visitors still bring small bottles or plastic containers to carry away the water. But wells have also developed new customs, especially around memorial and loss. And you're just as likely to find old photographs, mass cards, or a hair scrunchie as a rag or a crutch these days. People find personal solace and peace at wells. All of the individual and communal rituals revive the older customs of the past, but recreate them in new and interesting ways that continue to celebrate urban Dinshenicus. the place lore of the city and county, within which Holy Wells and Amanda's fine record of them remain a valuable and valued part. Amanda, once again, congratulations on bringing the wonderful resource to fruition. But above all else, thank you for all you've done and continue to do to revive the lore and location of our Holy Wells of Cork and further afield. Lastly, by being so generous with your knowledge and expertise, you are doing more for the protection of our local and national heritage than you know. So thank you, Amanda, and thank you, everybody.
And I'll come on to that in a minute, but he is entirely responsible. So I'll just explain a little bit why I got into this strange obsession, as Gary mentioned. I suppose in 1998, we were on holiday in Carhadaniel with the family. And I went into the post office and there was a little sign up, a poster saying, "Pattern tonight at St. Crohan's Well, all welcome." So I thought, that sounds interesting. I might just go and check that out, see what's going on. It was the most appalling evening. It was absolutely lashing, but I thought, well, I'll go anyway. And I went. Nobody else wanted to come with me in the family. And I arrived and there was this little muddy hole and a lot of people were walking around it very seriously. I thought, okay, this is very, very interesting. And there was obviously a bishop or somebody quite important because he had the umbrella and he had all the gear on. So I hadn't a clue what was going on, but I was made to feel very welcome. And this is obviously kept in my mind and I've remembered this. And then fast forward to about 8 years ago, I was on Bantry Market looking through a very good bookstore there and I came across Gary's book, Ancient and Holy Wells of Dublin. I thought, that looks very interesting. So I bought it. I won't tell you how much for, Gary. And I was riveted. I thought, this is fantastic. This is just so interesting, so valuable. And maybe Cork needs something like this. Because by this time, I'd realised that a lot of holy wells were disappearing. And that people just didn't know about them. Even very local wells, people had no idea. So I thought, well, I could do this for Cork. I was recently retired, had a bit of time on my hands, but I don't think I'd really thought it through because there are 358 holy wells recorded in the Archaeological Survey for Ireland. And Cork is a really big county. But nonetheless, I set off on St. Bridget's Day 2016 and sallied forth. And about 3 years later, had visited around 330 wells, and I was hooked. So at each well, I would take photographs, make notes, try and track down a local, and then I'd come back and do all my research and put it up on an ongoing blog. And then COVID struck, and I thought, okay, my project during COVID will be to write this book. But then I got distracted. I was 6 months in New Zealand. And then I came back. Once I was let out, I went to Kerry and started exploring the wells there. And then I got lured into Limerick. So it's taken me a while. And then at the beginning of January, I said to Peter, I'm going to finish this book and it's going to take me a week. 7 months later, here we are. So I've learned quite a few things really while I've been doing this. The thing I've learned most of all really is the wells are just incredible. They are this amazing connection with the past. I think it's now acceptable to say that most holy wells go back to pre-Christian period. So you're instantly going back 1500 years, if not way back. And they've somehow managed to remain. They've kept their integrity, there have been loads of challenges, but they're still there today. And they have this incredible continuity and connection. I've learnt that there are the wells, the word you use to describe a well that is still visited is active. And that's very, very important. They're not just dead bits of water, they are active. They can give you a cure, they can respond to your request. if you offend them, especially in North Cork, which are very feisty wells, they will move, or they'll dry up, or something terrible happens to the person who's disrespecting them. So if you go to North Cork, be very, very careful. There are a lot of cures available in the holy wells in County Cork, over 30 different cures. The most popular is for eyes, followed by warts. But whatever you have, there will be a well there for you. And most wells have a patron saint. And again, there are over 60 individuals who are patron saints here, and most of them are very unknown and very colourful. And I'm just going to read a very short extract from the book about saints. And this is in the section Saints Behaving Badly, because they're not always very saintly. Although saints were usually known for their immaculate and sometimes miraculous behaviour, some did not always behave in the expected saintly fashion. Saint Letarian, as has been seen, was not averse to a spot of cursing, and St Malaga swiftly turned robbers into stone. They were not unique. St Lactine and St Olin, neighbouring saints in North Cork, argued over who had the biggest parish, complete with some impressive cursing and a bit of cheating. Olin, quote, Olin and Lactine were very good friends. When a certain thing happened, both agreed that each would walk on the morrow and have the biggest parish. However, Lactine, by setting out when it was still dark, covered more ground than St Olin, and people say that's the reason why Donmore parish is bigger than Ahaballow. Both saints cursed each other's parishes. So St Olin said that all the mad dogs would run towards Donmore. St Lactine said that Ahaballow would never be without robbers. Olin would be very annoyed to know that St Lactine has 7 wells dedicated to him, including a double Boulogne at Clahina, West Cork, still revered. He's also remembered by an exquisite arm reliquary, Lave Lactine, which now rests in the National Museum in Dublin. One entry in the school's folklore collection suggests that not only did St Olin summon up mad dogs, he also cursed St Lactine's hand, wishing it to fall off. When the wish came true, St Olin was so devastated he tried to reverse his curse, but the hand turned to bronze. St Olin has only one well, but it's a very special one, complete with standing stone, sacred tree, and the Stations of the Cross. I think another thing that has amazes me, that although wells may have originated thousands of years ago, they are still very, very relevant today. And they appeal to a huge variety of people. People will go for all sorts of different reasons. Some will just go because it's tradition. Their parents went, their grandparents went, their great-grandparents went. Some will go in search for cure or healing. And just the few people I've talked to tonight, I've had so many stories of cures and healing at holy wells already, so there's a great belief. Some will go to ask a specific request. They might go to a certain saint to ask this request. Others will just go because they're curious. And some, like me really, well, there's one other thing first. Some people go to find the pre-Christian deity, and some will just go for the solace and the quiet. And I think Gary mentioned that too. Often when you go to a well, you have to make a bit of a journey. They're not easy to get to. You have to work at it. And then when you get there, they're often in the most amazing situations. And I'm just thinking of an example of which I went to in North Cork, in Doon Peter. I don't know if anybody's been there. It's St John's Well. And I think in typical manner, I found the hardest way to get there. So I parked, and there was a sign that said Holy Well. I thought, brilliant, that's really encouraging. And there was a little gate. Now, if you find a little gate in a field, that's very, very encouraging sign. You know there's probably going to be a holy well down there. Well, it was blooming miles. It took me about, I don't know, an hour to find this well, but it was so beautiful. So I was following a river, and I went through grassland, I went through forestry, I went through bog, and then I ended up in a wood. But I knew I was on the right track. There were no more signs, but there were little benches in the hedgerows. I thought, well, somebody's got to sit there, probably pilgrims. And then I had to go, there were 2 times to go across the river, and once there was just like a girder, a railway girder across this river, so that was quite adventurous. And then the second bridge had gone completely, and that was just something to swing yourself across. And then I landed up in a wood, and it was just full of bluebells, and it was just so beautiful. But I thought, but where's the well? My GPS was telling me it was here, and I knew it couldn't be because this well was meant to be in a ring fort. So I think the fairies were having a little play about this. And then I emerged out of the wood, and there was the hill. And I thought, okay, that looks like there could be a ring fort up here. So I started to walk up, and then this herd of cattle came over as well. And so we all walked up together. And this was just the most amazing place because it was enclosed in a wall, so whether it was a ring fort or an early ecclesiastical enclosure, I don't know. But you went in, and there was a killeen, there was a graveyard, there were ancient carved stones, and then there was the well. And there was nobody else there, and it was just this amazing time. I'd had this long walk, and you just got there, and it was just beautiful. So I think really what I've found, there is a well for everybody. If you open yourself to them, they can talk to you. So I'm just hoping that this book will now sort of make people appreciate wells more, and will perhaps go out and find your own local well, and there will be one near you. They are absolutely everywhere. So please go out and have a look. And just before I stop, I now just have to thank some people. So first of all, I have to thank Peter, who's over there. I think it's safe to say when we started off, he probably wasn't a huge enthusiast. So he mostly did the duty driving or the negotiating where we were going. And then he started to get a bit more into them. And I think now he is pretty much as almost as enthusiastic as me. And when I say, oh no, I don't think I can face going to look for another little hole in the ground, he's like, yes you can. These are the ones you really like finding, and it's true, it's the forgotten ones that I do really like finding. And but he really came into his own when we started doing the book, because he has done the design and the layout of the book, which I think you agree looks really, really fantastic. He's also set up the website. He's done the shop, he's doing all the postage and packaging, and he had to hire a van and go and collect the books, which are only ready this week. So it really is a joint effort. And I think we've actually enjoyed working together on this, haven't we?
He's smiling.
He's smiling.
I'm sure enough.
And I have to thank Robert and Finola, who are our partners in exploration. There she is. Often we'll just go off for a couple of days together, and we'll stay somewhere nice, and then we just go for it. So we go for holy wells, stained glass, rock art, grottos, good coffee. And Robert is usually duty driver, and he's very good tempered, and when Robert and I screech, grotto! And then Finola, well, when I started this about 7 years ago, being very English, I would not go up and knock on doors, and I was very shy about asking people about holy wells. She has trained me. I'll now go up on anybody's doors. But she also has provided a lot of photographs, some beautiful stained glass photographs for me. She's done a bit of translation from Irish into English, but most importantly, she has done 2 sets of proofreading. So not just one, she has read through twice, which was a mammoth task.
So all the mistakes are my fault.
No. Yeah.
I don't think there's any.
There aren't any, there will be. And then I have to thank everybody I've met on my journey. I can honestly tell you that I've just met really lovely people. There hasn't been one person who's been unpleasant. A few have been a bit suspicious, what on earth I was up to, but usually with a bit of a chat, then that was fine. And people are just so nice. And I don't know if anybody's here from Carrick-Navarre. No, I can't even remember where Carrick-Navarre is. I've been twice. First time I went, I was obviously still being a bit English, and I didn't knock on doors. Second time I went, I can tell you that I think I had about 12 people on their mobile phones all around the village trying to find somebody who knew about this well. And we had success, and I was taken in a convoy to the well. And the farmer was on somebody's mobile phone giving me instructions, and it was just so nice. I just really appreciate that. And then thank you to people who've rang me up or emailed me and said, please come and see my well. Would you like to come and see the well? Yes, I would. And I think quite a few of you are here today, so thank you very much to that, to you. Then I just have to thank Gary, again, because Gary has come down all the way from Dublin. He's had a bit of an adventure. His car broke down and all sorts of things. But if you haven't had seen Gary's book, please get hold of it if you can. And he also runs the Ancient and Holy Wells site on Facebook, which is a really nice group. They're all very friendly and very interested, so he does excellent work there. And then I have to thank Colin Elligan and Cork County Council Heritage Unit, who very kindly awarded me a grant, which meant that we were able to afford to do the book in hardback, which I think has made a huge difference. And then finally, Paul and Marie, thank you very much too for allowing us to have this lovely venue. Please do look around, there's a wonderful exhibition. There is drink and food in the other room.
Yes.
I think we all need it, I certainly do. Thank you. And thank you all for coming here tonight.
Well, I think County Cork has found a new patron saint.
Busy here, isn't Did you see Susie come in?
She might be, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I wasn't.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my God! That's
I want to see Carrie Holy I don't want to interrupt
it?
isn't it?
It's quite well here.
Keep going. And to you too.
Like of all books and that, I know I don't know. Will you throw your? Yeah, I know your hand is probably too easy. I also